Coming up on tonight's broadcast, the OSU Career Fair, possible changes at Valley Library, and important news regarding a cancer drug. All that and more right here on the Beaver News.
Good evening and welcome to your Wednesday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Cassady Gilroy.
And I'm Mackenzie Allen. First, a quick update on the power outage and web services shutdown from earlier today. Though several services, including Blackboard, ONID, Banner, the OSU Wireless Network, and the OSU homepage, were temporarily shut down today, we have confirmation that all have been restored except for Blackboard. It is currently unknown when Blackboard will come back. As part of Black History Month, there was a panel held yesterday by the Lonnie B. Harris Black Cultural Center to discuss racial stereotypes. The event was held in the Memorial Union Lounge, and panelists included Jared Sleet, External Coordinator for SOL, Anderson Dubois III, the External Coordinator from the Black Cultural Center, Brian Gadamu, Senior in Microbiology, and Taylor Henry, Senior in Ethnic Studies. They also discussed the fact that there are more black men, in jail than there are in college, with Sleet saying, quote, "It is an endless cycle where someone gets busted and their reputation is tarred, which makes it harder for them to get a job," end quote. On the same topic, Dubois suggested a solution, saying, quote, "If you invest more in preventative measures like education, not just cash, but also in quality, then you can invest less in jail cells," end quote. On February 20th, the Black Cultural Center will also host a panel run by Black female students.
How quiet can a library as large and multifunctional as the Valley Library get? Potentially quite a bit, as a new poll in the library arose to discuss making the first floor of the library into another quiet floor. Drew Wilson-McGrath of the Daily Barometer reports that the results of an initial voting period concluded on Monday, which indicated that 330 students wished for the floor to be a designated quiet area. 190 votes wished for it to be self-regulated. There's only one mandatory quiet floor in the library, and that is on the 6th floor. All other areas, students are expected to keep themselves and each other accountable for excess noise. There are only 27 private study rooms, which only hold approximately 200 students. The library, though, sees around 15,428 students who visit between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. Jennifer Nutfall, the Associate University Librarian for Innovative User Services, commented, quote, "It needs to be a delicate balance. We need to have spaces in the library that accompany all student study habits," end quote. As of now, no official decision has been made as a result of the vote.
Start polishing off your resumes because the Oregon State University Winter Career Fair is only a week away. Hosted by OSU Career Services, the Career Fair will take place next week in the Memorial Union Ballroom from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Some of the companies in attendance include CH2M Hill, the FBI, Google, HP, Microsoft, the Peace Corps, and Georgia Pacific, among many others. In addition to the usual companies in attendance, this year Career Services has also included several green businesses to be showcased at the event. The engineering-specific career fair will be held the following day, February 23rd, in the ballroom. If you can't make this term's fair, not to worry, because they are put on each term by Career Services.
In growing efforts to create sustainable, renewable energy, Oregon State University is doing its part to aid this future, to ensure that it doesn't affect the environment or animal habitats. A lot of attention is being placed upon offshore mills right now due to the maximum energy benefits of the placement. However, this may seriously affect seabirds and bats, according to the Northwest National Marine Renewable Energy Center at OSU. They recently were awarded a $600,000 grant from the U.S. Department of Energy to develop a multi-array sensor that will help determine the exact impact these windmills may have on the animal habitat. The researchers will spend much of the next 3 years developing the instrumentation array and synchronizing the instruments. Their first test on land will be in Newport and on experimental turbines at Mesalliance Community College in New Mexico and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Colorado. Robert Soyan, an OSU seabird expert and principal investigator on the project, commented, quote, "There is a big push in New England to develop offshore wind energy, as well as in areas where oil and gas platforms already exist. One possibility is to use those platforms for hydroelectric power generation from the currents below and wind energy from the turbines above the surface. Our project was funded from an initiative to remove market barriers for developing offshore wind facilities, especially floating platforms that can be used in deep water." We now go to reporter Brittany Greenfield with a report from the Pride Center.
Oregon State University has many cultural and resource centers located on campus. Today we're featuring the Pride Center located on 1553 Southwest A Avenue. What's the mission of the Pride Center here at Oregon State?
So the Pride Center has a few different missions that we go off of. One is definitely to provide a strong visibility of the LGBTQ community on campus. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and other queer identified folks within the community as well.
So what events do you guys put on throughout the year that people should know about that they can become involved in?
One is Queer History Month, and within that we do National Coming Out Day. And the events vary within that a bit each year, but we, for National Coming Out Day, for example, we always have a door out in the quad where folks can sign and show their support for the community, as well as come out if they want to, and we have support amongst the staff for folks that are willing to do that on that day. And so it's a really strong bonding experience, I would say, for the staff and the community kind of merging together. And then throughout the year, let's see what else. We also collaborate on Trans Awareness Week with the Queer Affairs Task Force on campus, which is part of ASOSU, as well as collaboration on Pride Week, which happens in May, and we collaborate with Rainbow Continuum on their Pride Planning Committee for that. And yeah, we do a lot of other various events throughout the year. For example, ones we have coming up are speed friending, so allowing chance to for the community to make new friends and just meet each other, as well as Gender Your Cookie, actually, which is a really interesting event. It's you will have human cutouts of cookies and allow people to decorate them to reflect any gender identity they want, and we'll do some education around how gender identity and gender expression differ, and all the different continuums that are in play in that.
Can students and faculty and people living in Corvallis area go on the website to find out specifically on those events?
Yeah, our events are publicly listed on our Facebook, actually, which our website does redirect to. So they can go onto our website and be redirected to our Facebook to learn more about that. Or folks are more than welcome to come into the center as well and converse with the staff and find out the different resources available. Right. So
thank you, Rylan.
Yep, thank you.
This has been Brittany Greenfield showcasing diversity at OSU's Pride Center. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Brittany. Bill Brown, a professor in the Agricultural and Resource Economics Department at Oregon State University, passed early Tuesday morning. Josie DeWitt of the Daily Barometer reports that the cause of death was due to pneumonia and injuries sustained in a road accident that occurred on January 9th as he was cycling on his bike. Dr. William Brown held the title of Professor Emeritus, which is a distinguished term to reference a retired professor. He was an advocate of environmental sustainability and taught for 50 years here at OSU. He was 87 years old at the time of his death. In his memory, his granddaughter and OSU alumna, Charity Brown, hopes to create an online driver and biker awareness campaign. We're heading into our first short break, but don't go anywhere because when we return, we have a sports update and a look at news around the nation. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR. Tomorrow from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. in the Valley Library, OSU will be hosting Julie Oringer and Ryan Hardy as part of the Visiting Writer series. Oringer is the author of The Invisible Bridge, a novel, and How to Breathe Underwater, a short story collection. Her stories have been published in the Yale Review, where they've twice been awarded the Editor's Prize for Best Story of the Year, the Paris Review, which awarded her the Discovery Prize in 1998. Hardy's first book, Bring Me Your Saddest, Arizona, won the John Simmons Award for Short Fiction and was named a San Francisco Chronicle Best Book of the Year. His stories have been widely published in national magazines and journals and have been performed on NPR's Selected Shorts. For more information on this and all upcoming Writer Series events, contact the OSU English Department.
It's that time again to start looking for summer jobs. Thankfully, if you're interested in biological sciences, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute Undergraduate Research Program is accepting applications to a full-time research program. Michael Mendez of the Daily Barometer reports that no previous research experience is needed to join the program. To apply, however, students must find a professor to sponsor them. This professor may even be from the University of Washington, the University of Montana, or Montana State. If accepted, the students will conduct research alongside their sponsoring professor for 11 weeks, after which they attend a symposium and present their research. All research conducted will also be published in OSU's undergraduate research journal, known as the Catalyst. Some may even be published in prestigious scientific journals. The deadline to apply is March 28th and can be done so through the HHMI page found on the Oregon State University's website.
A nuclear power plant in Covert, Michigan has been cited for 3 safety violations, according to the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, joining 2 other U.S. plants under scrutiny. The NRC said they, quote, determined the plant failed to have adequate work procedures for the electrical panel maintenance to work to ensure it was done successfully, end quote. The worst of the violations stems from a September 25, 2011 incident in which half of the control room indicators were lost because of an electrical fault caused by personnel at the site. CNN reports that the 2 other plants being given citations are the Perry Nuclear Power Plant Unit 1 near Cleveland, Ohio, and the Susquehanna Nuclear Power Plant Unit 1 in Pennsylvania, about 70 miles northeast of Harrisburg.
Mount Hood, the volcano that once upon a time marred the landscape of Oregon, is pretty tame compared to its cousins, and a team of scientists at Oregon State University have figured out why. You see, volcanic eruptions are either high or low explosivity events, both of which many volcanoes experience. High explosive eruptions, also known as Plinian eruptions, eject copious amounts of magma into the atmosphere, as was seen with the Mount St. Helens eruption. Mount Hood, on the other hand, does not experience this. Instead, before it can reach an explosive stage, internal mixing of magmas of varying temperatures cause it to rapidly increase in temperature, thereby decreasing the viscosity of the magma that eventually erupts. Adam Kent, an OSU volcanologist, explained, quote, instead of an eruption, it would be more like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. Lava piles up to form a dome, the dome eventually collapses under its own weight and forms a hot landslide, end quote. So, what does this mean for us? Well, aside from giving researchers a much better idea of how volcanoes like Mount Hood function, it could potentially provide the means to prevent other volcanoes from experiencing explosive eruptions.
Penn State University announced yesterday that the child sexual abuse case involving former coach Jerry Sandusky has cost them $3.2 million in combined legal, consultant, and public relation fees pertaining to the investigation. The university has promised that they will not use alumni donations, student tuition, or taxpayer dollars to cover the incurred costs. CNN reports that about $2.5 million of the fees stemmed from Penn State's internal investigation and crisis communication team costs. Roughly $500,000 has been spent on university legal defense services. Sandusky is currently under house arrest as he awaits trial on child sexual assault charges. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges. We now go to Cassady Gilroy for a look at weather.
Good evening, Corvallis. My name is Cassady, and tonight I have your 5-day forecast. Tonight, expect to see some clear skies with a low of 36 degrees, and on Thursday we are back to the rain with a high of 48 and a low of 39 degrees at night. Friday, expect to see more rain with a high of 52 and a low of 37 degrees at night. Saturday, the rain continues with a high of 45 degrees and a low of 36 degrees at night. And finally, on Sunday, we have some more rain with a high of 45 degrees and a low of 37 degrees at night. That's a 5-day forecast for this evening. Back to you guys in the studio.
For Malachi, a Best in Show finalist at last year's Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, it seems like the second time was the charm, as the 4-year-old Pekingese from Pennsylvania took home the grand prize last night. After winning Best in Show, Malachi's handler and co-owner, David Fitzpatrick, told USA Network, quote, "I'm still in shock. It's such a thrill, and I'm just so proud to have a dog that's of this quality that could win a show like this and have an opportunity to exhibit him here. It's the thrill of a lifetime," end quote. Judges are instructed to evaluate dogs on appearance, movement, temperament, and other traits of their specific breed. Other Best in Show finalists included a Dachshund named Playing with Fire, a Dalmatian named Ruffian, a German Shepherd named Captain Crunch, an Irish Setter named Caught Red-Handed, a Kerry Blue Terrier named Chelsea, and a Doberman Pinscher named Vendi Vidi Vici. This is only the 4th time a Pekingese has taken the top prize. Terriers have won 45 of the 105 Westminster Best in Show titles. About 2,000 dogs, representing 185 breeds, were competing at this year's show. It's now time for our final break of the evening. We will have a look at more of your national and international stories in just a minute. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to the Beaver News live on Channel 26. In news that is sure to please most people, the Federal Communications Commission is set to establish new rules that make it harder for telemarketing companies to call or text message you. According to CNN, the new rules are expected to be approved later today and will limit automatically dialed or pre-recorded calls and text messages. Under the new rules, telemarketers would first have to get permission in writing before placing an automated call to a consumer. There are exceptions though. Informative calls such as those about school closure or flight cancellations can be made without express permission. This applies only to landlines, however. Cellular devices will need written consent. Keep in mind that this rule only applies to the use of automatic calls and text messages. Companies that utilize human beings to place the call may still do so without permission. The FCC is an organization that is tasked with regulating interstate and international communications across a wide range of mediums.
CNN is reporting that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has apologized for, quote, a serious breach of protocol in which the parents of late Nazi hunter Simon Wiesenthal were posthumously baptized as Mormon. The church also acknowledged that 3 relatives of Holocaust survival Elie Wiesel were entered into the genealogy database, though not referred for baptism. These baptisms violate a 1995 pact in which the church agreed to stop baptizing Jewish Holocaust victims. Mormon church spokesman Michael Purdy said this about the baptisms, quote, "We sincerely regret that the actions of an individual member of the church led to the inappropriate submission of these names. These submissions were clearly against the policy of the church. We consider this a serious breach of our protocol, and we have suspended indefinitely this person's ability to access our genealogy records," end quote. Rabbi Abraham Cooper, Associate Dean of the Simon Wiesenthal Center, responded in a written statement saying, quote, "Such actions make a mockery of the many meetings with the top leadership of the Mormon Church dating back to 1995 that focused on the unwanted and unwarranted posthumous baptisms of Jewish victims of the Nazi Holocaust."
Users of the anti-cancer drug Avastin, be wary. Counterfeit versions of the drug have recently slipped into circulation, warned the U.S. Food and Drug Administration earlier today. As reported by CNN, the FDA sent letters to 19 medical practices known to have purchased such unapproved medications. These counterfeit versions of Avastin are potentially harmful as they lack bevacizumab, a key ingredient in the proper medication. These versions were purchased from a foreign supplier known as Quality Specialty Products, which may be presented as Montana Healthcare Solutions as well. Donald Harvey, the president of the Hematology and Oncology Pharmacists Association, commented, quote, It sounds like the key issue with that is that the counterfeit vials don't have the Genentech labels on them. Pharmacists have to take a look and really investigate their supply, end quote. Genentech is the company responsible for marketing Avastin.
After weeks of snow and freezing weather, some of Europe's most famous landmarks are beginning to show damage. CNN is reporting that the Colosseum in Rome has been forced to temporarily close after small pieces of its walls crumbled away as a result of the temperatures. The closure is also going to create substantial financial losses as the Colosseum attracts some 7,000 visitors a day, each paying €12 a ticket. Cristiana Beccattara, spokesman for Italy's Ministry for Cultural Heritage and Activities, said the damage was caused by ice forming on the walls of the monument, adding, quote, "When the temperatures drop below zero and there is rain and snow, it causes ice to form, which, with the increase in volume, pushes the external placid masonry and causes small pieces to fall off," end quote. The Colosseum is scheduled to reopen tomorrow afternoon.
Amidst outcry due to the alleged poor working conditions, Apple announced Tuesday that they are working to address these concerns, reports CNN. This was in response to an announcement made by the Fair Labor Association, an independent watchdog group, who claimed they had begun auditing conditions at plants in China, where most of Apple's products are made, under the watch of Foxconn, one of Apple's biggest manufacturing partners. Recent complaints by Chinese workers brought about this investigation. Workers complained of extremely long hours, poor working environments, and have even led several workers to commit suicide. Apple CEO Tim Cook rebutted this, saying, quote, "We know people have a very high expectation of Apple. No one in our industry is doing more to improve working conditions than Apple."
Though it has long been suspected, current French President Nicolas Sarkozy officially announced today that he will be running for re-election. CNN reports that Sarkozy, who heads up the center-right UMP party, is currently trailing chief rival socialist candidate François Hollande in opinion polls. The first round of voting is scheduled for April 22nd, with the second round to follow on May 6th. Other candidates include Marine Le Pen from the far-right National Front and the centrist François Bayrou. Sarkozy made the official announcement via his Twitter account that he had set up only a few hours earlier.
In their growing efforts to become a nuclear state, Iran announced Wednesday that they have created and installed domestically made fuel rods into the core of a nuclear reactor, as reported by CNN. Iran also announced the intent to begin production into yellowcake, a chemically treated form of uranium ore that is used to make enriched uranium. Priorities to these achievements will be given to Tehran Nuclear Research Center, claims Iran. This is a center used primarily for medical purposes. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad announced that in a speech that he was willing to share its knowledge with other nations included in the International Atomic Energy Agency. These developments have put further strain on Iranian-Western relations, as many believe Iran's atomic ambitions are more focused towards building an atomic bomb. Sanctions that are already in place that ban Iran from importing the yellowcake catalyst, but domestic production circumvents that sanction. We now go to Mary Johnson with a look at sports.
Unfortunately, we've run a little bit long tonight and will not have time for sports, but make sure to tune in tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock as we go to a live remote coverage of the OSU Recycled Fashion Show. Thanks for joining us tonight and have a good rest of your evening, everyone.